start your explorations going to the dragon well that they have. And remember what I told you about using less than boiling water to steep it. I'm looking at a Chado tea right now that I dearly love, a China green tea called Luan Guapian. Luan is the county that it comes from, and Guapian is the name. It means melon slice. And this is a very ancient green tea, which is just superb. There is no bad Luan Guapian. And there are a lot of others. I'm looking at another bamboo leaf green tea from M.A. Mountain. Once you enter that world, you're going to just try one after another, and you've got a long way to go, Kim, because there must be 10,000 of these green teas.
I better order my days quickly.
Yes.
How come it is that German tea costs 7 times more than England's tea, and that it's better? Why?
Well, the Germans are, if you'll allow the expression, Nazis for quality. They are very fond of the very best and are willing to pay, even though they consume about 7 times less tea than the British do, they pay 7 times more for it. So the actual market value of the tea trade in Germany is greater than in England.
Very
surprising. It surprised me to find that out.
It surprised me too. I have one last question for you. Lu Yu used to be known as the priest of tea. And there was a gentleman named Musashi who really brought the tea importance in his book, The Book of Tea. Mm-hmm. And he also wrote The Book of Five Rings.
Musashi was the great Japanese samurai. And his Book of Five Rings is not to be confused with the Book of Tea by another Japanese who wrote 100 years or later. And he wrote it in this country, the Book of Tea. His name was Okakura. So the Book of Tea, which is the best-selling work on the subject, it's, I think, more philosophical than a buyer's guide, and but there's a lot of history in there, and there's a ton of charm. That must be the chap you're thinking about.
That's it.
And that Book of Tea, when you think about it, which would have appeared about 100 years ago, was just in the line of succession from Lu Yu, the Chinese chap who wrote the first Book of Tea.
Have you read all these books?
You know, I have not. Most of them have never been translated from Chinese, but I've read the greatest hits, Kim, and I'm proud to say that I'm in that tradition. I must be around 100 to 150 down the line, you see. But there have been at least 100 major books of tea in Chinese alone since Lu Yu wrote 1,000 years ago.
How long did it take you to complete the definitive tea dictionary?
Well, of course, I had been learning that for 25 years when I started, and a mere 5 years' work polished it off.
The tea dictionary is naming all the different types of teas and explaining what they're about?
Yes. Yes.
That's a huge job.
It is meant to be the handbook and guide to the trade. It is tea trade terminology for cultivation, manufacture, tasting, trading, marketing, and classification. And, of course, I have maps and charts and everything else.
Oh, wonderful. How many tea houses are there in the U.S. now, approximately?
The last time I counted, it was on the order of 2,000. And when I first took an interest in tea, you could never have found 200. So that's a big jump. We, the new tea lovers, are making our mark felt. You and I are not alone.
Do you think that there will be many, many more in demand tea houses? And do you also think there's money in having a tea house? I'm sure that's not why people begin it.
No. You go into if you want to go into this business, it's because you love it. And then if you have a good business head, you can figure out how to make a living at it.
It sounds like it would be a great office to meet people, to sit down with them, to have tea, to receive people.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of people go into the business not so much to make money as for the romance and the friendship and all of these elements that go along with tea. And if you can, and that's perfectly legitimate, I've always thought.
I'm very enamored with the new Tea Lovers Treasury, and I really want to thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I think you should tell people that if they are interested in acquiring that book that you praise so highly, they should email me. I can be reached through my website, which is James Norwood Pratt Tea Society.
You're also at jamesnorwoodpratt.com, correct?
That's right. These are conversations just like sharing tea itself, which I can never get enough of. And so I would encourage one and all to let me hear from them. And let's carry on just the way you and I have, Kim.
Norwood Pratt, thank you so much for being with us.
I enjoyed it.